My foster care story. How I turned hardship into courage and built a future filled with possibilities. My name is Nathan, and looking back, my childhood was a mess of moving around and trying to figure out where I fit in. It all started when I was about 5 or 6. I don't remember the exact age, but I was young enough that everything felt confusing and scary. My dad couldn't take care of me, and my sister, Sarah, anymore because of his issues with drinking and whatever else was going on. So the state stepped in and placed us in foster care. At first, they kept me and Sarah together in this one family's home. I thought that might make it okay, but it didn't. The first family I was with, the Johnsons, were strict in a way that just felt mean. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson had a couple of their own kids, older than us, and they ran the house like a boot camp. If you spilled something at dinner or didn't finish your chores exactly right, they'd punish you by making you sit in your bedroom all day and all night. No TV, no playing outside, nothing. I'd stare at the walls, listening to the other kids laughing downstairs, feeling like I was in prison. Sarah and I shared a room, and we'd whisper to each other at night, trying to make sense of it. But Sarah was a bit older, maybe 8, and she started acting out, talking back, refusing to do what they said. I guess she was just angry about everything. After a few weeks, she caused enough problems that the social workers decided to split us up. They moved her to another home, and I was left there alone. It sucked. I missed her so much, and without her, the punishments felt even worse. I cry myself to sleep sometimes, wondering if I'd ever see her again. Once went by like that. Maybe 3 or 4, I think. I was around 6 or 7 by then. My social worker, Ms. Ramirez, came to check on me one day. She sat me down in the living room, away from the Johnsons, and asked if I was happy where I was. I remember hesitating because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I finally said no. I told her about the punishments and how lonely it was without Sarah. She nodded and said she'd see what she could do. Not long after, they pulled me out of there and placed me with a new family, the Millers. The Millers were completely different. It was a huge family. Mr. and Mrs. Miller had 4 biological kids, 2 adopted ones already, and now me. Their house was always buzzing with activity. The kids ranged from toddlers to teens, and everyone pitched in with chores, but it wasn't like a punishment. It was just part of life. We'd cook big meals together, play board games in the evenings, and go on outings to the park or the zoo on weekends. Mrs. Miller was warm. She'd hug you when you came home from school and ask about your day. Mr. Miller worked as a mechanic and would teach us little things, like how to change a tire or fix a bike. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. They treated me like one of their own, not like some temporary kid. I made friends with their daughter, Lily, who was my age, and we'd share secrets and play pretend in the backyard. It wasn't perfect. There were arguments sometimes, like in any big family, but it was good. They even helped me stay in touch with Sarah, who was doing okay in her new placement. After about 3 years with the Millers, things started to change. They talked about wanting to adopt me officially. I was excited because it felt like a real family. But then my dad got involved again. He'd been in and out of rehab, and the state was pressuring him about child support or something like that. They said he had to start paying or take responsibility. I guess he chose to take me back to avoid the bills piling up. One day, Ms. Ramirez showed up and explained that I had to go live with my dad. I was devastated. I cried and begged to stay, but it didn't matter. The Millers were upset. 2. Mrs. Miller hugged me tight and said they'd always be there for me. Living with my dad was rough from the start. He had remarried this woman, Karen, who became my stepmom, and she made it clear. She didn't want me around. She was always yelling about little things, my room not being clean enough, me eating too much, whatever. Dad worked long hours, so he wasn't home much, and when he'd just sit in front of the TV with a beer, not really paying attention. Karen controlled everything, and she'd ground me for no reason or maybe do all the housework while her own kids from a previous marriage got to slack off. School was my escape, but even there I struggled because I was always tired and stressed. Summers